Joining us from Chicago is NBC News correspondent Adrian Broadus, also with us former ICE Chief of Staff Jason Hauser, and former federal prosecutor Paul Butler is here with us on set. Adrian, I want to ask you, what kind of protests are you expecting to see as ICE seems poised to deploy and come with more resources, even federal resources, to the Chicago area?
Hey there, good morning to you. I can talk to you about a demonstration that was already planned before the news that those federal agents could likely show up here in the Chicago area as early as this week. This rally kicks off in the next hour, and it has been dubbed as Workers Over Billionaires, a Labor Day of action. And if you take a look, you can see organizers are already here and people are gathering to set up. There are a number of speakers planning to speak at this rally today, including Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson. I spoke with organizers a moment ago, and they say their goal is to push the message that billionaires aren't determining the path forward for our country. Now, over the weekend, Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson signed an executive order. That order says in part that Chicago police officers will not be able and will not collaborate with the immigration crackdown that is expected to happen this week. It also says that those CPD officers are to wear their uniforms and that they cannot wear any mask. The mayor saying that he wants citizens to be able to distinguish Chicago police officers from ICE officials. Back to you.
So, Jason, I mean, as you heard Adrian just talking about, the mayor is telling the city's police force not to cooperate with ICE officials. What does that mean logistically, and what can we expect to see on the ground as this surge starts to take place?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think clearly the administration has been focusing sort of immigration enforcement and these large sweeps like we saw in LA and DC, but within this guise of sort of now this new political lens of law and order. And what you're going to see is a very complicated, two-part issue and challenge in Chicago. One is the sort of optic of sort of this pushback against the administration. That's what the administration wants. They want to somehow, show that the governor and the mayor of Chicago are not for public safety or law and order. And that's exactly what they are stating they want. They want ATF and drug enforcement agents and FBI agents to go after violent criminals and those that want to hurt our communities. But then again, you have a Department of Homeland Security and a White House that's now sort of expanding sort of non-criminal migrant arrests on the streets, at-large arrests against those that many migrants have been here for decades. And what we need is the administration to get back to focusing all of federal law enforcement on the threats for our communities and sort of quit these sort of political theater and the sort of guise of law and order, when in actuality it's just targeting non-criminal migrants in the streets for political theater.
And Paul, if you're in charge of one of these cities and you see a major ICE action coming your way, what do you think are the best potential legal pathways to try to combat that, to try to either stop this or make it not happen again?
So, Christina, the president has suggested two different rationales for bringing federal officers to Chicago. One is to support immigration enforcement. The other is to lower the crime rate. So the city has a lot more authority over how it deals with local crime and its own police officers than it does over federal law. So the president does have full command of federal officers, not just ICE, but he can also bring in the FBI, the Secret Service, ATF, to support immigration enforcement in Chicago. But they're not allowed to make arrests for local crimes like homicide or carjacking without the support of the police. The real tension will be Chicago police policies. For example, Chicago officers have to use body cams. They're not allowed to wear masks. ICE does that. And so that's going to be a source of major controversy.
But when the mayor says you can't cooperate with federal authorities, we've seen here in D.C. these checkpoints that are manned by DCPD. Do they need the local police to pull over someone without cause for a traffic stop or at a checkpoint, or is that something federal authorities can do on their own?
Federal authorities can't make traffic stops. So there will be some tension with they're allowed to go around cities and try to figure out who they think is there undocumented, but they're only enforcing immigration law. And so this really raises the specter of a tension we haven't seen since the civil rights movement, between the president and his command of federal officers and what state and local officials feel is the best course of action for public safety in their communities.
Only, of course, ironically, that was the reverse dynamic there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Adrian, I do want to ask you, we heard a little bit earlier from Governor Pritzker talking about the areas where Illinois does actually need some more help. We've got some more of that sound I want you to take a listen to.
Bottom line, would more federal agents in Chicago assisting local law enforcement help deter crime right now?
Of course. You want to help us catch bad guys? Bring the FBI. Bring the ATF. We already coordinate with them, by the way. We do a lot of work with them. We do drug interdiction. We do fighting gangs, and we do interdiction of guns at the border.
So, I just want to ask you, as ICE hones in on Chicago, what are the crime rates there?
You know what? The city is saying overall crime rates are down, especially when you compare this year to last year. Overall violent crime is down. Not only overall violent crime, but homicides down by 30%. Overall shooting incidents dropped by nearly 37%. And that is according to data from the city. Now, we talk about crime rates being down, but it is important to underscore since Friday, this holiday weekend, there have been a number of shootings across the city of Chicago. More than 50 people shot, at least 7 killed. The most recent mass shooting here in the city, all on the south side, this one, happened in the 1 a.m. hour this morning. The youngest victim in that case was a 17-year-old. And I've been on the ground speaking to some of the folks who run these violence prevention organizations, and an organizer who works out of Inglewood on the city south side telling me because of these budget cuts pushed by the Trump administration, he had to cut a third of his staff. He lost, he says, nearly $500,000 in funding. And their concern when I spoke with them most recently and back in May was that cuts like that could reverse all of the hard work they've done. And that is what you've heard from Governor Pritzker, as well as Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson, who will be speaking today. You guys were talking about the type of legal action they can take. The city of Chicago has filed at least 40 lawsuits, and the mayor saying over the weekend he will not stop. He is planning to continue to fight in whatever way they can, guys.
And we've heard a similar argument here in D.C. about that $1 billion that was cut out of the D.C. budget and what that could have done to help safety and law and order. All right, Adrian Broadus, thank you so much. Jason, I want to ask you, you've been in the room for these high-level conversations between ICE and state officials. There can be dialogue and communication and productive conversations when everyone is on the same page. How effective can that cooperation be? And how do you fix it in this case when people seem to have different goals of what their mission is ultimately?
I think we have to break this into the two competing storylines that are ongoing. One, there's the need to focus on national security and public safety threats. And I think Americans believe very clearly what those are: drug crimes, human trafficking, drug smuggling, violent gun crimes, crimes that are plaguing many of our communities. And we need federal law enforcement across all of those agencies to be working closely with state and local law enforcement to go after those criminal elements. And what we've seen in some of the data that you just showed is we're making success in those areas. But this administration, the Trump administration, is taking the eye off of that ball and turning those law enforcement agencies to do 10, 15, 20% of their workforce and targeting those national security and public safety threats and focusing on these large-scale immigration enforcement campaigns, operations, and for sort of political theater. But again, when it comes to immigration enforcement, that second piece of this story, we need state and local law enforcement to cooperate with all of our federal law enforcement agencies, including ICE, to go after those national security public safety threats. But also, if someone has a final order of removal and or is a national security and public safety threat, we need our law enforcement agencies across the board to cooperate. But what we don't need is sort of large roving sort of federal law enforcement agencies going out, just randomly stopping people in the streets and targeting to hit sort of quotas or dictated by the White House, saying that we have to arrest 3,000 migrants a day. That is not in the public safety interest, and it takes law enforcement resources away from the things that the crime that we want our agents focused on every day.
Yeah, those quotas make it a lot less of a targeted action when you have to meet a certain number. Paul, I also want to ask what kind of legal landmines could be hidden here. You know, Illinois making it clear they don't want ICE involved. We've seen video of ICE agents being aggressive in D.C. and crowds fighting back, lobbing everything from F-bombs to Subway sandwiches at ICE agents. Could this create more of a headache for the federal government in the end?
What kind of legal landmines? Wait, how much time do we have? So
not that much, but I believe in you.
So we can think about three different kinds of people with guns who the president has authority over. One is federal law enforcement officers, ICE, ATF, National Guard, and the United States military. So full authority over federal officers. And so when you see kind of ICE people being very aggressive in D.C., that's exactly what Trump told them to do. He said they don't have to be nice.
Yeah.
How much authority the National Guard and armed forces would have, that's much more legally fraught. There's a big legal battle now in California about whether Trump had the power and authority to do what he did there, which was to deploy not only the National Guard against the objections of Governor Newsom, but also to bring about 500 Marines there. Again, that seems to violate constitutional law in the Posse Comitatus Act, but that didn't stop Trump from doing it. Again, that's the subject of litigation. Now, the last and most important, I think, legal policy concern is just public safety. So this is the first day of school here in the District of Columbia. There was a report on the news about when kids are walking to school, if they see a National Guard's woman or man, what should they do? And the sense was that they should be afraid. And again, if people are afraid of law enforcement, whatever uniform they're wearing, that's horrible for public safety.